One is not born a woman, but rather becomes one. That single sentence, written in 1949, changed everything. It shattered centuries of assumptions about what women were supposed to be. It exposed the invisible prison that half of humanity had been living in without even knowing it. And it asked a question so dangerous that society is still struggling to answer it. If we are not born into our identities but become them, then who decides who we become? And more importantly, who have you become? And was it really your choice? Simone de Beauvoir didn't just write philosophy. She lived it. She refused marriage. She refused motherhood. She refused every expectation that her society placed on women. And in doing so, she discovered something that goes far beyond gender. The terrifying and exhilarating truth that we are radically free, and that most of us spend our entire lives running from that freedom. What I'm about to share with you in the next 15 minutes is not just about feminism, though it includes that. It's about something deeper. It's about how we construct ourselves, how society constructs us, and how we can break free from constructions we never chose. It's about the lies we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility, and it's about what it really means to live an authentic life. This is the story of a woman who looked at the world and refused to accept it as it was. And in that refusal, she showed us all what's possible. Stay with me. What you're about to learn might show you the cage you didn't know you were living in. Before we go further, I need to ask you something. Have you ever felt that the person you're supposed to be doesn't match the person you actually are inside? Have you ever felt trapped by expectations you never agreed to? Have you ever wondered how much of your identity is truly yours, and how much was handed to you by others? Leave a comment. I want to know that there are others who feel this tension between who they are and who they're told to be. Simone de Beauvoir was born in Paris on January 9, 1908, into a bourgeois Catholic family that expected very specific things from her. Her father was a lawyer who valued intellect, but believed women's place was in the home. Her mother was devoutly religious and dedicated to raising proper young ladies. Simone was supposed to become a wife and mother. She was supposed to find a good husband, manage a household, raise children, attend church, and quietly disappear into the role that generations of women before her had occupied. But Simone had a problem. She was brilliant, terrifyingly, undeniably brilliant, and she knew it. From early childhood, she devoured books. She excelled at every subject. She argued with her teachers. She questioned everything, including, eventually, the God her mother so fervently believed in. At 15, Simone declared herself an atheist. Imagine the scandal in that proper Catholic household. Imagine the fear in her mother's heart. Imagine the young girl standing firm, refusing to pretend to believe what she didn't believe, already practicing the authenticity that would define her life. But losing God created a crisis. If there was no divine plan, no eternal meaning, no cosmic purpose, then what was the point of anything? Why be moral? Why strive? Why live? This crisis led Simone to philosophy. She entered the Sorbonne, one of the few women in the philosophy program. She studied Hegel, Husserl, Heidegger. She wrestled with the great questions. And at 21, she met the person who would become her lifelong partner in thinking and living, Jean-Paul Sartre. Their relationship defied every convention. They refused to marry. They refused to live together. They had what they called an essential love for each other, while also pursuing contingent loves with others. They were scandalously honest about their arrangement, shocking Paris with their openness. But here's what matters philosophically. In Sartre, Simone found an intellectual equal. They debated for hours. They challenged each other's ideas. They developed existentialism together, though Sartre often got the credit. And through this partnership, Simone developed her own distinctive vision of human freedom and self-creation. Let me ask you a direct question. How much of your life is based on choices you actually made? And how much is based on expectations you absorbed without questioning? Your career, your relationships, your beliefs about yourself. Did you choose them? Or did they choose you? Beauvoir would say that most people never ask this question. And by not asking, they become what she called objects, rather than subjects of their own lives. If this is resonating with you, if you're starting to feel the weight of these questions, I need you to do something now. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not for me, but because this message about authentic living needs to reach more people who are sleepwalking through lives they never chose. And what comes next is where everything becomes clear. In 1949, Simone de Beauvoir published The Second Sex. It was a revolution in print. The book began with an explosive question. What is a woman? It seems obvious, but Beauvoir showed that it wasn't obvious at all. Throughout history, she demonstrated, woman had been defined not on her own terms but in relation to man. Man was the subject, the absolute, the one. Woman was the other, the deviation, the mystery. Think about the language we use. Mankind, man-made, the history of man. Even the word woman contains man. Woman was linguistically, culturally, philosophically defined as the second sex, the secondary sex, the sex that existed in reference to the primary one. But Beauvoir's insight went deeper than language. She analyzed how girls were raised differently from boys, how they were given dolls while boys were given tools, how they were taught to be passive while boys were taught to be active, how they were praised for beauty while boys were praised for achievement, how, gradually, subtly, relentlessly, they were constructed into women. This is what she meant by, one is not born a woman, but rather becomes one. Femininity was not biology. It was training. It was culture. It was a cage built so slowly and so carefully that most women didn't even know they were inside it. But here's what most people miss about Beauvoir. Her insights weren't only about women. They were about everyone. All of us, she argued, are born into situations we didn't choose. A particular body, a particular family, a particular social class, a particular historical moment. We don't choose these things. They are given to us. They are what she and Sartre called our facticity. But facticity is not destiny. We are not determined by our circumstances. We have freedom, radical freedom, to choose how we respond to our situation, what meaning we give it, who we become within it, and beyond it. The problem is that freedom is terrifying. It means we are responsible. It means we can't blame our parents, our society, our biology, our God for who we are. It means we must choose, constantly, without guarantees, without excuses. Most people can't bear this, so they flee into what Beauvoir and Sartre called bad faith. They pretend they have no choice. They hide behind roles and rules. They say, I had to, when they mean, I chose to, but don't want to admit it. They become things instead of people. Second question for you. Are you living in bad faith? Are there parts of your life where you pretend you have no choice when actually you're just afraid to choose? Where you blame circumstances for situations you could change if you were willing to pay the price? This is not an accusation. It's an invitation. Because recognizing bad faith is the first step toward authentic living. Beauvoir didn't just theorize about freedom. She lived it in ways that were genuinely courageous. She never married, at a time when unmarried women were pitied and suspected. She never had children, at a time when childless women were considered failures. She had lovers of both sexes, openly, honestly, at a time when such things could destroy a reputation. She wrote prolifically, novels, memoirs, philosophical treatises, essays. She won the Prix Goncourt, France's highest literary prize. She became one of the most famous intellectuals in the world. But her life wasn't without pain. Her open relationship with Sartre caused suffering she sometimes didn't admit. Some of her affairs ended badly. She was criticized by feminists who came after her for not being feminist enough. She was criticized by conservatives for being too radical. And she faced the ultimate test of her philosophy when she had to confront death, first Sartre's, then her own. In 1980, Sartre died. Beauvoir was devastated. Despite their unconventional relationship, despite the other lovers, Sartre had been her life's companion for 50 years. She wrote a heartbreaking memoir about his decline and death, sparing no detail, including the difficult ones. Some criticized her for exposing Sartre's weaknesses, but Beauvoir was committed to truth, even when truth was painful. She believed that authenticity required honesty, and honesty required showing life as it was, not as we might wish it to be. She survived Sartre by 6 years. She continued writing, continued engaging with the world, continued living according to her principles. When she died in 1986, she was buried next to Sartre in Montparnasse Cemetery in Paris. They had refused to become one in marriage. In death, they lay side by side, two individuals who had chosen each other freely, again and again, for over 50 years. So what does Beauvoir's philosophy mean for you, watching this video, living in a world she could never have imagined? First, recognize that you are being constructed. Every day, through media, through expectations, through subtle and not so subtle pressures, you are being told who to be. The question is whether you will accept that construction or consciously choose to build yourself differently. Second, accept your freedom. You are not your circumstances. You are not your past. You are not even your biology, at least not entirely. You have the capacity to transcend what you've been given, to make yourself into something new. But this freedom is not a gift. It's a responsibility. Third, reject bad faith. Stop pretending you have no choice. Stop hiding behind excuses. When you say, "I have to," ask yourself if that's really true, or if you're just afraid of the consequences of choosing differently. Honesty with yourself is the foundation of authentic living. Fourth, create yourself through action. You are not what you think or feel. You are what you do. Your choices, accumulated over time, create your identity. Every day you are becoming someone. The question is whether you're becoming who you choose or who others chose for you. Fifth, extend freedom to others. Beauvoir's feminism was ultimately about recognizing that all people deserve to be subjects of their own lives, not objects in someone else's story. Treat others as free beings. Don't reduce them to roles or categories. See them in their full complexity. Final question, and this is the most important. If you stripped away everything that was expected of you, every role you play, every identity you inherited, who would you be? And is that person trying to emerge, pushing against the construction, waiting for you to have the courage to let them exist? Beauvoir lived her answer to that question. She was imperfect. She made mistakes. She sometimes fell short of her own ideals, but she kept choosing. She kept creating herself. She kept refusing to be reduced to what others wanted her to be. That's what authentic living looks like. Not perfection, not certainty, just the ongoing courage to choose yourself again and again, in a world that would prefer you to be a thing. Before you go, I need you to do something. If Beauvoir's message spoke to you, if you felt that spark of recognition, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone trapped in expectations they never chose. Someone living in bad faith without knowing it. Someone ready to start the difficult work of becoming themselves. And subscribe to this channel. We're exploring the ideas that can actually change how you live, not just how you think. Your subscription helps this message reach others. Simone de Beauvoir spent her life proving that we are not determined by what we're born into. That woman, man, human being, these are not fixed categories but ongoing projects. That we create ourselves through our choices, and that this creation never ends. She was born into a world that wanted her to be silent, decorative, secondary. She refused, and in refusing, she opened doors for millions who came after. You were born into a world too, a world with expectations, categories, constructions. Some of them serve you, many don't. The question is not whether these constructions exist. They do. The question is what you will do with them. Accept them without questioning, or examine them, challenge them, transcend them where necessary. One is not born, Beauvoir taught us, but rather becomes. What are you becoming? Is it what you chose? Or is it time to choose again? The freedom is terrifying, but it's yours. It always was. What will you do with it?